Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 12, 2022 meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission. We have some members participating remotely, so we'll do a roll call. When I call your name, say aye or present, so we have you. Ed Laturco.
Present.
All right. Jennifer O'Riordan, she's absent. Indra Deb, he's absent. We have Bill Boyven.
Here.
Kent Moffett.
Here.
Okay, that's four. Don Bernstein, you here?
Here.
Okay, you're here remote. That's five. The chair is here for the record. Did I miss anyone?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so let's look at the agenda for a moment. If you happen to be waiting for item 4, which is a request for a certificate of compliance, 98108 Middlesex Turnpike, that's the Yard House for a stormwater permit certificate. That has been requested to continue to the May 26th meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission, number 4. Also, we have, we have number 7, a continued public hearing, which is for a notice of intent, 102R Wynn Street by Sung Oh and In-Ho Lee to replace a culvert and restore a wetlands and a stream bank, DEP file number 122-666. Could I have a motion to continue the public hearing for that notice of intent to the May 26, 2022 meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Ed?
All right. Ed, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, Don?
Yes.
All right, we got Bill?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. And who else did I miss? I think that's it. That's 5. Okay, by a vote of 5-0-0, the continued public hearing of 102R Wynn Street is continued until May 26th. All right, next item on the agenda is citizens' time. Is there someone here and present or online who would like to address some issue that's not on the agenda? You're welcome to have a few words now if that's the case. Anyone here for citizens' time? Okay, the record should show that is no one's here for citizens' time. Next, we have on the agenda the approval of minutes for April 28, 2022. Are we in a position to approve those minutes?
We haven't received those yet.
Okay, so we're not in that. We'll have to skip through that. Now we'll skip down to past number 4. Okay, item number 5. Notice is hereby given that the Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting, during which time we have a request for a determination of applicability filed by Colleen Bridget Sakari and Daniel Sakari. The commission will be taking information related to the proposed installation of an above-ground pool within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands. The property is located at 94 Drake Road in Burlington. The application is being heard pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, which is the Wetlands Protection Act, and Burlington's bylaw, Article 14. A copy of the application is available by emailing conservation@burlington.org. Okay, so some folks here for that one? 94 Drake.
Yes, sir.
Okay, where are you? Right, come on up. All right, so you can sit right there, and the way this works is you introduce yourself, who you're with, or if you're the owner, you state that, and then we usually give you a few minutes to say whatever you would like.
My name is Peter DiBernardo. I'm with Gibraltar Pools in Topsfield. We've been in business 37 years, and we build above-ground pools. And we're proposing an above-ground pool at 94 Drake, and it's going to sit behind the retaining wall. And we'll bring in a machine to level the ground, It'll probably be there for about 45 minutes, and then the rest of the work will be performed by hand. The filtration system is a self-contained cartridge system, so they will need no backwashing of treated pool water into the yard. All the water will stay within the four walls of the above-ground rectangular pool.
Okay, thank you. Good summary, very concise.
You're welcome.
Okay, John or Eileen, you have some comments on this one? A few of us were out there, you folks were out there,
Right.
so,
So yes, we did go out there yesterday, and it appears that the wetland is not really very far beyond the retaining wall. And it looks like the pool, the grading for the pool would probably be into or at the edge of wetlands. The wetlands aren't flagged, but it does appear that there's been some vegetation cut, some small trees, some larger trees cut in the wetlands, and it looks like the pool itself would be very close to wetlands.
all right. All right, so, I was there as well, Ed was there, I believe. So, my question before we move on, it was so close to the wetlands and the slopes, did you feel that it maybe is more proper to have it as a notice of intent?
Right, well, I think the wetlands need to be flagged, and the pool location needs to be worked around where the wetland boundary is. The wetland boundary may not be a straight line across the back, it may be irregular, in which case the pool location may need to shift. But if it's certainly if it's within the 40-foot no-build, I would recommend that you not approve it as a determination of applicability. I mean, if you were going to grant a waiver, it would have to be under an order of conditions. But it may be possible to get it outside the 40, I'm not really sure, until the wetlands are flagged.
Okay. All right, let's see where we go with this. How about,
Tree cutting?
all right, so Kent,
We'll lose a-
do you have any comments on this one right now?
Just on the pool, are you gonna be doing like some type of, like, cause it's gonna be deeper, I know, cause I have like one at my house, so it's like, is there gonna be like a certain amount of rock that's gonna go around the pool too? Like, is that gonna be like a border? Cause I know like the one at my house is like.
A lot of people put a mulch border or crushed stone border around the pool, probably not more than 24 inches around the edge of the water. So we've got a cantilevered safety ledge around the pool, so probably it would mimic that. I don't think it would go beyond that, so it would be just over the overall footprint of the pool.
Okay, so it'd be probably like a couple, like say 2 feet.
2 feet probably from the edge of water, but on our diagram, we've got the safety ledge built in there, so it would mimic the outside dimensions of the pool structure. We lay down washed mason sand prior to building the pool on top, so it's free of impurities.
What about like stairs? How's that like to get into the pool? Are they gonna be like something custom built, or are they gonna do like some type of?
No, it's a fold-down outside stair.
Okay,
Yeah, folds up and latches.
okay. All right,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you. Ed?
Well, just based on our visit there yesterday, I would say that what John has defined is getting those flags to delineate between where that wetland is.
It was just leaving us with some questions that we just couldn't quite tell where it was going. So I think that's the judgment on my part.
All right. We have, Don?
I agree with Ed and John. I think we need to see what the flags look like and go from there.
Yeah. Okay, Bill?
What is the wetland resource area here? Is it bordering vegetative wetland or isolated or? I wasn't there, so I'm just curious.
I believe it's bordering. We've had a number of filings on Drake Road over the years. I think it's always considered bordering.
Okay, the difficulty is, I'll just add for everyone's edification, there is a irregular wetland line. And it's, the topography is such that there is like an upper level where the house is and then a wall. Then there's a steep slope coming down from the bottom of the wall, sloping down into the wetlands. And it's a pretty steep slope. So the question is, if you're going to put the pool as close to the wall as possible. It was a little bit, we didn't know whether they were going to build up the wall, build up in order to avoid any damage to the wall. They were going to do a cut. And how close the cut would be, whether there'd be any damage to the wall, because there's the wall like this, and then there's a slope like this off the wall.
You can see it in the pictures.
So there's two ways of doing it. You either, I didn't know if they're gonna bring in a machine and do a cut to make it
So
level.
we split the difference in a slope like this, so I've been to the site myself. It's not too dramatic a slope for us. We'll flag off the four corners of the pool, we'll dig in from the lowest corner, then we'll bring the earth that we dug from the top. Ours is pool's an above-ground pool, but it can be backfilled to a certain degree, so we'll make a pad kind of midway at the slope.
Okay, so you'll basically compromise half cut the slope.
It's a compromise into the middle of the slope. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
The top will be
That
back. We
actually-
won't be anywhere near the retaining wall, that won't be
That actually makes
compromised at all.
sense. That makes sense.
Not only that, but on that side of the pool, on all sides of the pool, but on that one next to the retaining wall, the edge of water or the pool wall will be another 2 feet away from that. So it's the edge of my safety ledge is what will be closest to the wall. Then you have another 2 feet. So that retaining wall is there to stay, that we won't undermine that at all.
Okay, got it. All right, Bill, it's sort of interrupted.
No, it's okay. I appreciate the explanation because I wasn't there. The other question I have is, as far as a 40-foot no-build, does an above-ground pool like this require a permit, a building permit?
Yes.
Oh, it does, so that would certainly take effect then. Okay, so then I agree, it should be a notice of intent and the flagging of the wetlands.
Yeah, I mean, the issue was, there was some, the whole general area has water from the other side of the street that, in one way or another, ends up in back of this house and those houses on the lower side of the street.
Here we go.
So there was skunk cabbage, some isolated skunk cabbage in various places.
Okay,
And,
That's
So
what
it
the pool,
wasn't-
that's kind of what the pool could look like.
right.
yeah, yeah,
That
and it's very nice.
Peter has provided.
So the thing is, from a regulation point of view, from what we deal with, we have to know how far it is away from the wetlands. I would suggest to the commission that this doesn't happen very often, where we have someone coming in with a request for determination, but it would seem to me that they should get a delineation, and then if they're asking for a waiver, they should file for a notice of intent. I think is that what the way you would see it?
Right, so, and then there's two different options you could do. One, you could just issue a positive determination now and say file a notice of intent. Or you could continue it, tell them to flag the wetlands, come back with a delineation, and if the pool is more than 50 feet away, you could issue a negative determination. If it's inside the 50 or even close to the 40, then you could issue a positive and tell them at that time to file. I mean, you could let them do the delineation first if you want.
Right.
Well, we had said that we approximated that the wall that they built a few years ago was around 40 or something feet, maybe between 40 and 50 feet from the wetland, and this pool is going inside that. How far is will the pool be built from the retaining wall?
Probably 2 feet, maybe
Right,
3.
almost right up against it.
And in the previous application, the wetlands were not actually flagged
No.
and certified as being correct, okay.
All right.
One of the concerns, if I may, is the seasonality of the item. But notice of intent, now this is a whole other filing, and we'll get into the waiting for that, and then the appeals period, and now we're halfway through the summer before they could do it. So I don't know if that's something you would consider at all in this case. We do have a cartridge system, so it's a green system with no backwashing, as I said. Very minimal disturbance to the property. Almost everything will be done by hand. Done a lot of them in this town, and including
Well-
conservation
well,
variances.
if they get
We go
the-
by the book.
Yeah, well, if they get the wetlands line, the commission could consider letting it go as a negative conditional determination and then move it along from that point. They could even make an exception if they want to. I'm not suggesting they should or should not, but they could make an exception to do a waiver of our regulations. We have to do a waiver. One of the the things that when we grant a waiver, oftentimes there is, applicants will give an incentive for us to do a waiver because it's so discretionary. And what I saw out there, I'm not sure what that exactly would be, but what I saw out there was quite a bit of tree cutting. There was like, between 1.5 and 2 inch, like 5 1.5 and 2 inch diameter trees that were
Oh,
clearly
They were
cut.
bigger than that.
What, were they bigger?
Oh, yeah.
2
You
inch?
can see them here.
Well, no, there were some smaller ones too.
No, I was looking at the five,
Yeah.
I was
Okay,
looking at the
there were
five,
several that were like this.
not that big? Well, whatever they are, 2 to 3, okay, that big. There was like 5 trees that were cut, very close or in the wetlands, probably, maybe even in the wetlands. And there was 2 large trees. One had been historically cut, it looked like it wasn't recent. And another one looked like it was recently cut. To the extent that shade is removed from a wetland, which damages a wetland, it's possible that when they consult with the wetland scientist to tell them what the line is and put it on the plan, then they could also make some accommodation for replacement if it deems necessary. I am not sure. I would suggest talking to staff and call the office or what they think might be appropriate. It can be done offline. That discussion doesn't have to be done here. But, John or Eileen, do you think some replacement might be required to reproduce some shade that was lost?
I mean, I think we're just speculating at this point. If you get the wetlands flagged and the pool is proposed to be 20 feet away from the wetlands, I'm not sure the Conservation Commission would approve it. They have a 40-foot no build, and you'd be, in the 20-foot. So it's probably premature to talk about mitigation until you actually know how far the pool would be from the
Okay.
wetland.
All right, but that's something that, for the owners to think about.
Well, I'm sure that's something they would agree to. If we had the, proper distance, then we wouldn't be here for a conservation permit, obviously. That's
Right.
that's what calls for it. So I don't know if you're saying if it's 20, it's a definite no. I wouldn't mind continuing to the next meeting
Right.
and hire somebody to flag the wetland. That wouldn't be a problem. But much beyond that, I think it wouldn't be an easy thing for the homeowner, but.
Right. We're happy to continue to the next meeting, and maybe they can get someone to take a quick task to take a look at it.
Yeah, so if a wetlands person is hired to flag the wetlands and we come back to the next meeting,
And I would
and it's 20
suggest.
feet or 25 feet, do you think they might get an approval at that point? Or would it be then now another recommendation to do an NOI?
The 20-foot, first of all, if it's in the wetlands, then it's not likely to be approved.
It's obvious, yeah,
The 20-foot is called no disturb.
right.
So you're not allowed to disturb, and that would be a real questionable whether we would even grant a waiver for that. 20 to 40 feet is a no build, and, there we might grant a waiver and in exchange get a few more trees planted or something like that. If it's more than 40 feet away, then no waiver is necessary, and it wouldn't be any issue. So it's that 20, 40, and greater is the
The best thing is to continue then to the next meeting. We'll get it flagged, I'll submit it to Eileen, and then I'll be back.
I think that's the best thing. So, do we need a motion to continue?
Yes.
Is there anyone in the audience for 94 Drake that would like to say anything on this? All right, so I would entertain a motion to continue the public meeting for 94 Drake Road under Burlington Bylaw, Article 14, and State Wetlands Protection Act, and to our May 26th meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission. Is there a motion? Second?
Second.
Okay. Ed, how do you vote?
Yes?
Don?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. By a vote of 5-0, the public meeting on 94 Drake Road is continued to May 26th. All right, thanks very much. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing. Item number 6, Notice is given that the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing during which time we'll take information related to an erosion and sedimentation control and stormwater permit. The application's been filed by Quinn Builders Company for the demolition of a dwelling and the construction of 2 new dwellings at 4 Maureen Drive in Burlington. The application's being heard pursuant to Burlington Bylaw Article 14, Section 6. The commission will review all information relative to the application and may issue a stormwater permit for the proposed activities. This application may be viewed at the Conservation Office, or it's available on our website and may be downloaded at the Conservation Commission website. Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good to see you. Please,
Good to see you too.
obviously, introduce yourself and who you are and
Yep.
as the owner, and then you can say whatever you'd like.
Tim Quinn, owner of 4 Maureen Drive, applicant, looking to, as you just described, tear down the existing single-family home and construct 2 new homes
Sure.
on site. We've gone through planning board, did the A&R plan, it's been approved, so we have 2 lots as of right now. I think, as we discussed yesterday, existing drainage on site. We did a little more investigating, and all the existing drainage on site is, I think I talked to John about it, all the structures are bottomless, so there's all stone underneath the dry wells, the existing drainage on site, which we're possibly proposing to keep in use
Right.
with the new driveways. Because we're decreasing our runoff by almost 27% from 19,105 to 13,900 square feet. So we're decreasing runoff quite a bit.
That's the total for the 2 lots?
Yeah, existing runoff on this site now is 19,105, and with the 2 new proposed houses and driveways, we're gonna be at 13,900.
Right.
Because we're gonna try and save the existing, if there's an in-ground pool on one of the lots, we're gonna try and save it for one of the houses.
Okay, good. Thank you. John or Eileen, one of you want to give us a rundown on this one?
Well, only me, and I don't have very much to add from what Tim said. It was a very, the existing house, if it'll switch over, there's one large existing house on a very big lot, and he had enough room to split it into 2 without going through a formal subdivision process. As Tim described, he's proposing to reduce the impervious by a lot. My main concern with this is still that he's not proposing to do any additional stormwater management. So that's just a question. As he said, the existing system appears to infiltrate, so maybe it isn't necessary. I think that's just something that we need to consider. That's about it. So it's a standard stormwater permit obviously under your hearing.
Okay. All right, so, Ed, why don't we start with you? Do you have any comments on this one?
Ed, you muted?
You're muted, I think. You're still muted.
There you go, I'm sorry.
No problem.
My first impression was clearly to see that house go that's there. It's a beautiful home. A lot of history probably goes with that. Well, we heard some of that from Ted. But I think overall you just captured it. I was impressed with the drainage and everything that was done.
Early on, throughout that whole area. So I'm pretty much happy to see about all the work that's being done in preparation for this, but maybe the drainage is the only thing that would be the ultimate concern is, do we go into what's existing there, or do we improve something on that?
Okay. Next is Don.
Yeah, I don't have any further comment. It looks doable.
Okay. Kent.
No,
No,
it's
sorry,
hard to ask about
the,
the drainage. What about trees? Is there any more trees taken down? For
Not a lot. We have a few dead pines that are in there. There's a gas easement runs through on the street. We'll probably take those, but anything along the street, is everything staying as far as a buffer goes, from probably the edge of the road, probably 30 feet in.
Yeah, just I took a drive down there today. There was a good chunk.
Yeah,
of it.
all the trees, as you start going around the right side, all
All
that's,
staying. Okay.
nothing's getting touched on that side.
They're all staying, the ones on the right side?
Yeah.
Okay, and the ones in the front are staying?
All the ones in the front, except for, I think, 2 dead pines, were out in the gas easement. 'cause
So
they-
on the proposed plan, and I see all these trees, these are all things that are there now and they're gonna stay?
There's maybe 1 or 2 on the very far right, I think on that plan, it's, lot number 7.
Yeah,
There's maybe a couple small pines and maples on the bottom of the slope, but we're trying to stay away from the slope completely, so we're not regrading, getting into that slope at all.
Right.
Trying to pretty much leave the grades pretty close to what they are,
sure.
existing. So no major cuts and fills.
All right,
As you can see from the pictures, it's pretty bare on the inside because there was so much impervious in the house,
right.
as it is.
Bill?
We did have the drainage system cambered also.
Yeah.
And everything seems to be in pretty good shape. We have 1 cracked pipe that goes back to the existing house, which we have to cut and cap anyway to run new pipes into it, so. So anything that needs to be cleaned or repaired, we're obviously going to do it. Even on the drainage system on the street, if it needs to be cleaned or, we're going to clean it. I'm not sure if it's been cleaned in the last 30 years, to be honest with you. So,
Right, right. All right, Bill?
I'd like a little more detail on the drainage. So the 2 houses, the rooftop runoff is going to do what?
we have 2 existing dry wells on site that take,
Okay.
they take the existing driveway and roofs, and we're basically gonna run the 2 new roofs and driveways into those dry wells.
Into the dry wells,
Yeah.
okay. And I see there's a catch basin on site as well?
Yeah, that one that's in the driveway, that's basically it's a big dry well in the driveway.
Okay.
So we're proposing to use that one. And then there's another one further down, and there's also another drain manhole that used to be, there was 2 different subdivisions here, one in 76 and then one in 1991. There was a drain manhole in front of the house now that he turned into a dry well, because that drainage easement got abandoned when they did the new subdivision in 91. Actually, that's when they put in the newer drainage system for the street. There's 2 catch basins that go into the drainage system for the subdivision.
So those catch basins drain out to the street, and that's what you camera?
No, we're keeping everything on site, but the catch basins in the road, this drainage easement on my lot is for the subdivision. There's 3 manholes, and they're basically oversized dry wells that catch the street water. And and the existing catch basin there is basically a dry well. So-
Yeah.
So we're proposing to use the existing dry wells on site for the roof runoff.
So all the water's gonna stay on the site, and the site's pretty much a bowl anyway. so
Everything's
it's
staying on
Very
site,
little likelihood of anything flowing out anyways.
yeah.
Is it clear where the one for this lot here, where is the catch basin here?
I can't see the second catch basin.
So we
on
don't
here.
see a second catch basin for lot 7. Is there, how is it being handled?
There's a drain manhole,
Up here. Oh, that's on the street though.
I'm not sure if it's in here.
Yeah, there's one seems to be on the street.
Yeah.
It says rim 169.95, but I don't see anything for that house on the right, where the,
We've got one at 173 that's to the left, another one at 174, and I think there's a third one.
there's one at
There-
one,
There's 3 drain manholes, and one of them is on lot 7.
there is one on lot 7?
Yeah, there's 3 of them. It's almost the same.
Is that on the drawing somewhere?
Yeah, I'm looking at the old existing, because I'm not sure if he missed that on that drainage
Maybe,
system.
That could be existing.
I think it shows in the old abandoned drainage easement.
is the old thing. There's one here. This is the one that's there. The one on this side, I don't see anything right here. That's one right here. But I don't see anything, it doesn't show anything connected.
There's a catch basin shown in front of the driveway, and then there's a drain manhole over just off your property on the left of the existing drawing.
I don't know if you guys have the the subdivision plan from 91?
Yes, I do.
Well,
Because if you see that little circle, it says C detail A below. That was the existing drainage easement that got abandoned, and then the new drainage easement got put in. There's a manhole in that drainage easement.
In the drainage easement, okay.
Almost right in front of where the little cul-de-sac was on the driveway.
right.
But before that starts to go down, there's a drainage easement right
Well,
up the
there's a
granite
there's a
curving.
drainage manhole on the left.
I found it.
Where?
I think you missed that one on the new plan, to be
Right here.
honest with you.
Drainage manhole.
Oh, there it
There's
is.
a manhole there.
Okay.
Drainage easement, yeah, okay.
All right, so, Mr. Quinn, here's the thing. What I think we need a little bit more clarification, documentation, not clarification, documentation.
Okay.
It would be a couple of things. It would be, and I'll ask our staff or the commissioners to jump in if I'm getting this wrong. Okay, I think it would be nice to have a drawing that shows the roof leaders coming off and being connected to what. So if somebody's following the drawing, they know that this roof goes here, this pavement, the grading will show the pavement, but so forth. So that, it would be nice. It's not clear where everything's being connected.
Okay.
I believe you.
Yep.
But particularly on the right-hand side, there seems to be an absence of information there.
Okay.
All right, so that's one thing. The second thing is, they did a scope and a camera. It would be nice if we could clarify which either catch basins or open-ended catch basins or open-ended drain manholes, which ones are infiltrating. And it would be nice, it would be nice to have some verification from the engineer that says, for the amount of water going into these things, it is sufficient to infiltrate, and we don't need, it'd be nice to have some documentation on file that says we don't need additional supplemental.
Well, we do have that letter here from the engineer.
Yeah, I saw
Should be in that package.
It's showing on the screen as well.
It's basically saying that,
Does it say that, maybe I missed it? I think
Well,
I,
It's
it
basically
says
the
that that because the amount of impervious is so much less, there will automatically be
That's this thing,
lower
right?
peak
This-
rates and
this
volumes,
thing,
yes. In the future storm events.
So it was handling the larger amount well, so it should certainly handle the smaller amount, basically.
They're really just saying that since they're reducing, I'm not, that's kind of a question that's still in my mind. They're mostly saying that since they're reducing the impervious, peak rates and runoff volumes will be lower than existing, which is really what they have to show.
I feel like,
But existing is a huge swath of impervious.
Eileen, this has the feeling of like being anecdotal, that because it's less, it should be okay. We should have, what I would have asked for, and I don't think this is a lot, I don't think this is a lot to ask for. I think it would be good if we had, here's how much volume is there, we measured it and so forth. Here's how much is needed. We have sufficient infiltration capacity and don't need additional thing. It'd be nice if it was a little bit more quantitative, that we have something that just says that.
Yeah, so we'll add all the downspouts, driveway drains, anything like that, where they're going. and
Yeah,
then-
you can use, they know how to do it. They use dotted lines and stuff like that.
Yep.
And that would clarify that we don't need anything additional.
Okay.
I think it meets the wording of the bylaw, it just doesn't really meet the intended spirit. Which is that we're now trying to get more low-impact development features.
Yeah, well, I suspect it's probably fine, but we should just have the engineer say, here's what we need for drainage as proposed, here's what we have, we're fine,
Okay.
okay, for infiltration.
And we'll have them add that other manhole and make sure that that is suffice, and
And
then,
it'd be nice to have a drawing that shows where everything goes.
okay.
Okay, and I think that would I think that would go a long way towards wrapping it
And then
up.
if for some reason that manhole is not in the correct location on lot 7, then I'll show a new proposed, either Caltex
Right.
or another dry well,
Yeah, if you need something, then
separate.
the engineer will tell you.
Okay.
Okay?
I had one more question on the drainage, because it's not clear to me. You say these dry wells are basically just, the catch basins are basically just dry wells. So what was scoped with a camera? I mean, if they don't connect to anything, it's just a sitting,
Well, all the roof drains from the existing house, there's pipes, we chased all the
okay,
pipes
so
back.
those pipes
yeah,
from
all-
the existing house over,
Yeah, so
okay.
everything coming off that roof, all downspouts go into the existing dry wells on site.
Okay,
Everything's being,
so it was the connections to the
they're-
existing house,
yeah,
but you'll have
so
new
we're gonna
drainage.
have to chase them back, cut and cap them anyway to tear the house down to make sure we don't disturb the system, so.
Right.
We just
You're gonna
wanna
try to connect to those same pipes
And then
with
we'll,
it?
we'll
Okay.
reconnect to the dry well if it's
Thank you.
sufficient, if it's, you know.
But they aren't dry wells without an overflow. They do have an outlet.
Okay,
So they're deep, but, you know, if the water comes up to, I don't know what the depth is,
Probably about a 4-foot sump, 5-foot sump.
and then it would go out, and all that water would then end up in the wetlands down at the bottom of the cul-de-sac. Presumably,
But
that's where
there's,
it's
there's
designed to go.
evidence that under normal storms you were designed for, I thought I heard somebody say that there's almost never a discharge.
Well, the drainage system for the street, those recharge systems, there's no bottoms in those, so it's just basically all stone. So I don't, and there's probably, I think the outfall pipes were 8 feet off the invert. So
Right.
that, I don't think you'd ever see water coming out that, but,
Right,
No.
right.
and again, if it needs to be cleaned, which it probably does, because it's, probably hasn't been cleaned since 1991,
Yeah, I suspect,
you know.
the only thing you may need on the site for that is to have it cleaned to restore the capacity for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was told by engineering that it is maintained by the town, but
Sure,
we can't find any documentation for maintenance records, which is, you
no
know,
comment.
yeah, so if it needs some cleaning, we can clean up. We'll
Great.
do that.
This is it, isn't it? This is the system?
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're really, really deep.
They're 18 feet from the manhole to the bottom. There's
Right.
3 of them. They're pretty deep, a lot of capacity, you know.
The, what is 18 feet deep?
The drainage system, that recharge system,
yeah.
the manholes that we looked at, those are 18 feet from the,
Right.
you know,
Right.
to the rim to the invert, so. But
Okay, so, does anyone have anything else that would be needed for this application? Are you and Eileen satisfied that the erosion controls look set up in the right locations?
Oh, well, I didn't really look very carefully at that, but we'll say where the erosion control should go. I just did have another question, if that's okay?
Go ahead.
Anywhere that it's not impervious, are you just proposing to put in lawn,
Yeah,
grass?
loam seed, anything that we disturb, yeah, just be lawn.
You're not doing any extra plantings, no shrubs, you're just leaving your buffer?
We're gonna leave the buffer along the street, and then possibly something, you know, where that gas easement's wide open, may put something in there, but I think it's limited to what we can do on the easement, because they seem to go in and cut everything down.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, they clear cut the easement, so,
Yeah.
but probably maybe some arborvitae's or something on the lot line, you know, separating the 2 houses, but other than
Right,
that-
but all the center is just gonna be grass
Yep.
and houses.
Yep.
Okay, so, Bill, you had a question?
yes, on another topic, how are you gonna heat these houses? Electric heat pump, solar, what are we gonna do? Step into the 21st century?
Good question. Good question. Probably definitely no natural gas, because it's not readily available. Right now, the existing house is on oil. So typically, if I do a new house, there's no natural gas, we go propane. But I just recently built my own house, and I put in the heat pumps, and they
Yeah.
work pretty good. As long as you spray foam everything and insulate tightly, you know, you can,
Massachusetts is
What's
already talking about an initiative to get rid of 1 million houses that are on natural gas. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
you're condemning people to a system that's not gonna be very viable for a long time, I think,
Yeah.
if you put in natural gas.
Yeah.
So I would recommend, if you can swing it, to put in the heat pumps.
they're very, very energy efficient,
Yeah,
lowers your bills quite a bit.
I think it would help sell the house, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, well, people are getting more educated on the energy codes and, you know, so.
Green is good.
Definitely helps, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, is there anyone in the audience, this is for the project at 4 Maureen Drive? Anyone online? Yes, please, come up. You Probably, please state your name for the record, where you live, and,
I think you've got a user, you'll have to decide who's going first.
Eileen, what?
Sorry, I thought
Somebody
somebody was.
there's somebody online too, but go ahead.
Okay,
Oh, I'm sorry, they want to go first.
doesn't matter, we'll go to that person next, online. Do you have a microphone, so maybe you can sit right here, so it can be heard by everyone?
Yes, hi, my name's Herb Flint. I'm the abutter on the left side of the property, so we were just looking at some of the diagrams.
And what's your address?
It's 6 Maureen Drive.
6 Maureen, okay,
Right.
nice to see you.
Yep.
Are you the one with the shared driveway? No, you're the other side.
Correct,
Okay,
on the left side, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
got
the shared driveway's on the right side.
okay, got it,
Yep.
got it, yeah.
So, so I guess my concern centers around, there's a new wall going in there, and, well, first on the erosion control, I see there's nice erosion control around the whole property, which is great, but I don't see it where the wall is planned, so that was my concern, and that's probably my discussion point tonight, was just the wall.
Okay,
Looks like there's a 16-foot wall coming off the house.
yes,
And then it looks like maybe a 100-foot long wall going southeast rather.
can you show it on the drawing, Eileen?
Sure.
Where he's
I'm not
talking?
sure where this wall is. Where,
I'm not,
It's off the left-hand corner of number 4B, Lot 8.
okay, got it, okay.
And then it
oh,
runs
here,
along-
the 60, oh, this portion?
Yeah, correct.
runs along the right-of-way.
Okay, and you're concerned about the erosion control while that wall is being built?
Well, yeah, there's a few questions I have,
Sure.
or concerns, just that the erosion control is all around the property, but not where the wall is. So it looks like the wall is right on the lot line.
Right.
So that, that's a concern. And then, meaning it will affect some of the vegetation in there. And it's almost like if they moved it a few feet away, that would be a little bit more considerate, I would think, but it might make it a little bit more convenient, less vegetation to cut down. But the other concern I have is to the left of where the arrow is, in that
The left?
the elevation in that area is about 159, 160 feet. And to the right, inside that wall, that new wall, the elevation will be about 167 feet.
Right, it's on the drawing.
My impression is that wall is gonna be 7, 8 feet tall at least. And there's a catch basin inside, right in front of the house, right dead center in front of that house on 4B, right there.
Yep.
So I was wondering, I suspect that whole area will be filled in. Will that catch basin be raised up to?
All right,
to
so-
meet that? Okay.
So he's asking about the catch basin and asking about constructing of the wall and cutting vegetation.
Yeah, the catch basin we brought up to finished grade, so we'll put a riser on it with a manhole so we can access it. Because at that point, it won't be a catch basin anymore, it'll just be a dry well for the roof drains.
So it'll be that extra depth.
Yep.
And deeper, which is nice, yeah. Yeah, and in the driveway, if you notice, sorry, Tim, if I interrupted. The driveway, it does go from an elevation of 174 feet down to about
162.
167 once it's filled in.
Yep.
Right.
And then beyond the wall, it's back down to 159. So my concern is just the water sheeting down the driveway. Meaning it's good that there's a decrease in impervious surface, but this might affect some of the runoff in that area. And that catch basin being bigger might capture that water properly. But to the left, there's also a catch basin on my property, which is just to the bottom left-hand corner of the property.
Yes.
Is this your property where the arrow is now?
My property's along the full length, so
Right.
it's like a 300-foot abutting. The whole left side is my property. So the concern there is just that the catch basin that's currently there, which is doing the job for my yard, is also doing the job for the current property. I just want to make sure that doesn't get overwhelmed.
No, that catch basin that's between us on the property line, that will basically see next to nothing. Except, this is all gonna stay existing, because the shed's staying, the pool's staying.
Yeah,
So anything that's sheeting down there now, it's gonna leave it alone. We're gonna rip the asphalt out for grass.
Okay,
So there'll be
that's good,
less
yep.
runoff. And then all that's driveway now, it's gonna be a walkout basement, so that'll be all grass.
Okay.
On the, on the left side of that proposed foundation. And then obviously we could put in stone trench or a strip drain on this left side of the
In addition,
driveway if there's a
yeah.
concern with runoff, but this will be all grass
yeah,
up in here.
right.
And then we'll have that
the
deck.
catch basin raised
Yeah,
up.
so,
Yeah.
you know, everything won't be shooting that way. We can,
Right.
you know, pick it up so that this kind of comes back. I mean, obviously, everything's going that way right now, so we're gonna tilt a lot of this back
Mhm.
to keep more on our side as opposed to going to where it goes now.
Okay.
So we're definitely gonna reduce what's going into that catch basin on the property line now.
Yeah, that would be good,
Absolutely,
yeah,
because all
yeah.
this asphalt's coming out. A lot of asphalt there now, so.
On the driveway, are you thinking of a stone trench just at the bottom or along the left side of the driveway?
Probably on the left side of the driveway, because everything's basically running
And
back from the street to that point. I
Would there
still
be
may,
an under drain connecting to the catch basin, or would it just be infiltration?
probably just do infiltration, keep it separate from the roof drains, I think,
Right.
you know. Put a
Right.
stone trench along the left side of that driveway, and then,
Or it could just be a swale, just so it's directed that
Yeah.
way.
yep. I mean, I think over time, a lot of these people, you know, we build the house, we sell it, put the stone trenches, and I think you know, they tend to disappear over the
Yes,
years.
they do.
You know, they kind of take them out, put lumen seed in, so I think it's a good effort on our part and on your part, but they seem to disappear over the years, so.
Get a swale might.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
we'd almost rather,
might-
you know,
might
finish it
keep
now.
Yeah, yes, they do disappear.
I'd rather not do a temporary thing that obviously is probably gonna disappear down the road, and then it's doing nothing, so if it makes sense, to put a small strip drain in there that's permanent, we can do that too. So
Right.
then at least it can't be removed, you know, to catch the water from that part of the
Where
driveway.
would you put the strip drain?
We could either put it in front of the garage doors or put it on that left side between where the driveway and the catch basin are, and then, you know, tie it into a kind of a separate infiltrator,
Yeah.
just so it infiltrates out, and then it's pretty much permanent at that point. Hopefully it's permanent at that point.
How will the plan, is there enough contours on the plan? If you're going to have a stone trench on the left-hand side of the driveway, is there enough information so that when it's constructed, it will be pitched so the water, a lot of it gets into the stone trench?
Yep.
Is there enough information now on there, or do you need spot grades?
No, I think we have enough information on there, showing the grades now, that'll work. Basically, everything's going that way to that left side of that driveway.
Okay.
And obviously, I think that's what your concern
Yeah,
is.
You might need
it
to
all
add-
sheets.
You might need to add some arrows, so it's clear.
Okay.
Definitely sheets down that way, you know, so the high spot on the lot is the far right.
Right.
And it all sheets down to the left.
Right.
How
Okay.
tall is the wall that you expect?
7 or 8 feet, isn't it?
As of right now, it's existing's 161, top of wall is 167, between 5 and 6 feet high on the left side.
Yeah, so that was a little bit of a concern too, is just, you
Yeah.
know, I was thinking it was gonna be maybe 2 or 3 feet, and then when I saw the elevation change from 160 to 167 and a half, I says, oh, that's gonna be a little taller than I
Sure.
thought, so it's gonna be a fairly tall wall. And my driveway runs just to the left of that.
Right.
Yeah, so there's the catch basin actually
Oh,
on
yeah, I
that
know, I was
photo.
trying to see if I had a picture sort of showing that edge, but I don't think I do. Yeah, that's the catch basin.
Sir, did you get your question answered about the cutting of vegetation and the positioning of the wall?
Yeah, Tim and I had talked a little bit, I should say the builder, had talked a little bit about the, he mentioned roughly where the wall went. I wasn't sure where the lot line was exactly at that
Is
point.
it
Since
somewhere
then, I've
close
looked
to
a
the,
little
is it
closer.
somewhere close to the car? Am I kind of misinterpreting
Be
that?
to the left, right where your
Where the cursor is
crosses.
now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
pretty close where all that granite curbing was running down the driveway, and then the slope started, because his road frontage basically goes all the way up to in front of us, so I can't touch any of that anyway. That's the only reason we basically proposed the wall,
Right,
because if, you know, I can't go in and fill that little swale, so.
right.
It's his
right.
property, so that's why that wall's there.
Yeah.
To leave the existing grades the way they are.
Okay,
So the concern with the wall, you know, say it's 5 feet, 7 feet, the lot is, my lot's a little bit higher there, so, but I'm afraid there might be a little bit of a gully there, you know, between the wall, and nobody wants, let's face it, a 7-foot wall right up against their property. But there might be a gully there, and that additional runoff would go into the storm drain that's not shown here, that's on my property.
okay.
So that's the reason I centered the conversation around the wall itself.
Okay. All right, so thank you for your
Yeah,
comments.
thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you
Yeah.
taking time.
Appreciate your time. Yep.
Yeah, how about, is there anyone else online?
Hello.
Hi, could you state your name for the record and where you live, and then please, I guess, speak.
Okay, My name is Wendy Pressman, and I live at 8 Marion Road.
Okay. And,
Sorry.
go ahead.
So we just want to make sure and just verify, we already get water in our basement from where the water comes down. So we just want to make sure that there's no concerns that there's going to be an increased water because there's going to be 2 houses that are going to be pushing groundwater towards our house. I'm not sure if this is the right forum for us to be talking about it, but we just want to make sure that our concern is heard.
Okay, are you clear, Mr. Quinn, are you clear where your property is?
I believe so. Marion's behind the other side of the cemetery, I believe. Quite a bit of ways away.
It's
I don't know.
it's quite a distance, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how many, I don't know if I have a plan showing him. I thought he may have.
Wait, is there else?
Share it.
Let's see.
No, share it. Can you share it? That's
Oh,
fine.
okay.
Good. Eileen's going to share the screen.
Who's going to share the screen?
Eileen. So 8 Marion is the last house on the left that abuts the conservation land.
Right.
That's correct.
And the
That is-
distance,
That's pretty far away from this project.
yeah. It looks like what they're saying is it's so far away that it is very unlikely to have an impact. Is that a correct statement?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually, the gentleman just spoke, his house is almost kind of in between us.
Right.
You know, if you look at where
Oh, right.
the map is.
That was his.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think elevation-wise,
All right.
it goes up and she's.
All right. Did you have any other questions at all?
No, that was all. We were just sorry about that. We just wanted to verify, that's all.
Well, it certainly is a valid question. Thank you for asking it. Okay.
Do you have any indication of where the groundwater level is in that, where you're building? Is it going to be, are you going to be actually have separation from the groundwater to the basement levels?
Yeah, we did test pits out there. And, well, probably, yeah.
Oh, can we have the information from those?
I don't have, I can get it from Freddie,
Thank
but we did the one at, one of the other ones, and, yeah, we were probably 6 feet above groundwater
Okay.
with the basement, new
You're not
basement
actually
floors. Yeah.
disturbing the groundwater by building the
No,
house
we're
and
actually-
pushing it on other
yeah.
people's property? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
But I can get that info, I mean, if you want it from Fred.
Okay, so is there anyone else for the hearing? Yes. Hi there. I noticed you waving vigorously.
My husband didn't ask all the questions.
That's why he brought you.
He even brought a paper. So Karen Flans, 6 Martin Drive,
so
which I
please-
haven't met you yet.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Please state your name and where you live.
Karen Flans, 6 Maureen Drive.
All right.
My question with the wall is, how long is the wall from here to here?
I don't have a tape to scale, probably 60 feet, roughly.
Okay.
50 to 60 feet, and that may change too. We're just really proposing this because of the elevation change from your road frontage down to,
Right.
our existing. I mean, the wall may get pushed.
Tim, would you just mind speaking up so that
Oh, yeah,
everybody
sorry.
can hear you? Thank
Absolutely.
you.
So the wall's about 60 feet from this point to this point right now. But again, it definitely won't get any longer. If anything, it'll shrink up.
What
It'll
would
get-
you make it out of?
This wall, most likely concrete. It's called a Shea Wall.
Oh,
The- the
solid.
decorative,
Oh,
concrete blocks, they're
okay.
about 3 feet deep. They're pretty, it's engineered wall, so it has to be, designed by an engineer.
So if it's on the lot line, so our driveway is probably here, and it does slope down. So if it's on the lot line, obviously bushes and trees that are our land, you'll probably have to take out.
No. I'm gonna try and leave all that vegetation
You're gonna
there.
have to trim any of it, or,
Might have to do a little trimming, but if it comes down to it, if I have to push the wall in a couple of feet, I can.
yeah, because we were looking at it today, and a lot of the stuff hangs over actually onto the driveway now.
I mean, more so, we'll trim it just so we don't damage,
Right.
don't break the bushes and get grease all over from the excavator or something, we wanna kind of maintain, but.
Because that's my concern, is what happens in my property if this is on the lot line, and then what would you do to correct if the
I mean,
damage
if there's anything questionable when we're doing the job, obviously we can go over it with you before we
Okay.
touch anything, and maybe we can transplant something if it needed to be moved a little further up the slope, so it's
Yeah, I
not
mean, it's
damaged,
kind of, sort of, I shouldn't say it's a mess
I
now,
think
but
that
it
the
is a
more,
little, 'cause
the
this
more,
is a
more
mess.
vegetation and privacy, the better, as far as I'm concerned. I
Right.
wanna leave that buffer on that lot line.
Right,
So-
because the person that lived here before you cut, on this section, cut a lot of the stuff down that was more private.
Yeah. No, we'll make sure we put, temporary fence, the erosion control,
Okay.
so that nobody's going over the other side and disturbing any of your vegetation, because I think there's rebar stakes along that lot line.
Yeah, because just if it was pushed over a little bit, but I think that
Yeah.
was, main thing, I didn't want to know, because on the plan, did you actually have plans yet of the houses?
No.
Okay.
These are basically the footprints, I just don't have final designs yet.
Okay.
They're actually working on them, but everybody's busy, of course, so we have to wait quite a while to get plans, but these are the biggest footprints we're gonna do, they won't be any bigger than
Okay,
this.
that was the question. And how are you tying the house into the existing pool? So the existing garages you're gonna take off?
The existing garage is basically right here, we're tearing that
Right.
off, and then, if I can't leave the existing retaining wall that's holding up the pool, I'm gonna pour a new retaining wall.
Okay.
And then the new foundation wall might actually be the retaining wall, so you're gonna walk out of the house onto the pool deck. So trying to not change the grades too much from what they are, as far as this whole area up back, because of the slopes.
Yeah, there'd be way less, there's a lot of driveway there now.
So most of it's getting ripped out, and we're decreasing the runoff quite a bit, so we'll make sure we don't impact your catch basin down
This
there.
thing off.
Okay,
We'll keep an eye on it through construction.
all right.
All right?
Thank
Gonna be taking
All right,
this.
good, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on 4 Maureen Drive or has a question? Okay, so I guess we will continue to the next meeting, and what we've asked for is, one, a drawing that highlights a little better where the runoff is going, the drainage system, and some verification of the dry wells, that they have sufficient capacity after they are cleaned out, if they have to be cleaned out, to handle, the infiltration. Nothing more is needed. Is there anything else anyone heard?
I'd like to hear if you're gonna do any plantings at all around your house or along the top of that wall or anything. I'd like to make sure that they're native material.
Yeah, we can do some, typically go in and put some arborvitaes on the lot lines to, separate the backyards, privacy. And then, obviously, we're gonna leave all the vegetation on the street, so I don't know if we need anything else for a
Yeah.
buffer or vegetation, but, and then small shrubs in front of the house.
Just like to make sure that they are native plants if possible.
Okay, sure,
We
absolutely.
can have that as a condition, too.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I just have one question.
Yes.
Heard it or not, the shared driveway that's there now with the 2 new designs, that doesn't happen, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna try and get rid of the existing shared driveway and
Okay.
close that off, so the neighbor can use that only. We'll cut off access to the new lot.
I was kind of surprised that person didn't show up tonight.
We had a pretty good discussion yesterday, I met him, so I think he's happy with the,
He should be pretty happy, yeah.
so.
All right, so
Before you go, so I'd just like to point out that these parcels,
sorry.
number 4 and number 6,
So I didn't pull it
back up to our conservation area. We have a
Trail that leaves from Bedford Street by the gas. We've got a trailhead there with a sign, and that's a great conservation area. I don't know if any of you have used it, but that's the access point right there behind these houses.
right. But the only access really is from Bedford Street, is that correct?
Yeah, you could go in from Marion Road, but there's really no parking there.
Okay, all right, so if there's nothing further, would you anticipate that we might be able to issue at the next meeting?
I think so.
Okay. All right, so, well, if we get those couple of things that we talked about, I think we'll be set to go and vote a permit for you,
All right,
okay?
perfect.
Could I have a motion to continue the public hearing for the stormwater erosion sedimentation control for 4 Maureen Drive by Quinn Builders under Burlington Bylaw, Article 14, Section 6. We'll continue until May 26th. Is there a motion?
Moved, Ed.
Second? Okay. All right, Ed, how do you vote?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes by a vote of 5-0. The hearing for 4 Maureen Drive is continued to May 26th.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thanks. Thanks for your time. Okay.
that does show the benefits of a public hearing.
Yes.
The neighbors come and they have the chance to discuss with the builder, and, you know, it's a forum for them to do that.
If we had 4 of those every meeting, we'd have some late meetings.
Yes. All right. Since Bill goes to bed very late, he doesn't mind.
Not if I get my choice on it.
Okay, so we're on item, we're skipping down to item number 8. Notice is given that the commission will hold a public hearing, during which time will take information related to a notice of intent filed by Amy Geary of Northern Business Machines for the construction of 3 parking spaces at 24 Terry Ave in Burlington. The proposed work would be within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands pursuant to the State Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw Article 14. The commission will be reviewing information relative to this application and thereafter may issue an order of conditions and a wetlands permit for the project. The application's available by going to the Conservation Commission's website and clicking on the link at that location for all the materials.
Ladies,
Okay, someone here for 24 Terry Ave.
concerned about the trash, so I told him.
Hi. How are you tonight? Good, good. Okay, so same as all the others, you state your name for the record and who you're affiliated with.
Sure. My name's Amy Geary. My family owns Northern Business Machines at 24 Terry Ave, so I'm here on their behalf to present this notice of intent. I also have Dave Romero, who's from Commonwealth Engineering, here remotely. He performed the stormwater calculations and the drainage for the notice of intent, so I asked him to join us.
Sure.
So we came before you guys 3 years ago to construct an addition on the building. And that also was bordering the wetlands. We had an order of conditions, which we complied with, and we received a certificate of compliance. At the time, on our site plan, we had held a small area about the size of a driveway to the right side of our building along Long Street. In reserve, 3 parking spaces in the event we ever needed extra parking. And so now, fast forward a couple of years later, we are finding we do need the parking, and we also, the reason this is kind of coming up now, after we got the certificate of compliance, is because we, as part of our special permit decision with the planning board, we were required to put in a sidewalk, and so we're about to begin construction on that. We have approvals from the town, and we want to do that at the same time. Construct the little driveway, go on the side with the parking spots at the same time as doing the sidewalk. So had we not got the certificate of compliance, I think we could have done an amendment or a minor engineering change,
Right.
but given the timing of it, I was advised that we had to refile the notice of intent, and so that's why we're here tonight. It's really part of that same project. But we're just finding with the sidewalk putting in, our service door is over on that side. And so we have our technician cars that pull up and load in parts. And so we need that small area, and we don't want to block the sidewalk. So
Sure.
that's why we're here.
Well, it's always nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
Okay. All right, John or Eileen have comments on this one?
No, so that was a good explanation. This probably would have been an amendment if the file was still open, but it's
Right.
not. So this parking lot is obviously, as commercial parking lots go, this is a very small parking lot. It's not much larger than something you would see in somebody's yard on a residential property. It's 3 cars. So the drainage design is similar to something you might see on a residential driveway. The wetlands, I didn't scale it off. I can't remember. Maybe David can remember. It's like maybe 40 or 50 feet away. And the area between, there's a, extensive area of grass before you even hit the wooded buffer zone as well. David looks like he's measuring it right now.
Yeah, it's about 50 feet away from the wetland.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any concerns over the project?
No, and the sidewalk she referred to is not within the buffer zone. So that's not shown on the plan because it just goes up to that parking lot and doesn't extend down the street
Right.
towards, what is it, Long Street? Is that the street down there?
Long Street.
Yeah, it doesn't go down that way, so it's outside the buffer zone.
Okay, so,
wetlands are this way.
Ed, you have any comments on this one?
No, just sad to see all the grass go, nice looking lawn.
I know.
Okay, all right, thank you. How about Don?
No, I don't have any comments.
All right, Kent. No comment. Bill?
No, small project, I don't see any problems with it.
Yeah, I don't see any problems either. We'll get to you in 1 minute. There is, in the wetlands though, are you aware of that somebody is throwing stuff in there, that there seems to be some trash and stuff?
No.
Yeah, it looks like yard waste is what it is.
Okay.
It's branches and stuff like that. So here are some pictures. You know, you wouldn't normally walk over there, but somebody is using your property.
Yeah, no.
So about 15 years ago, what was the name of the company that was there before?
Raytheon.
Oh, no, maybe it was you guys with a different name.
We were there 15 years ago, so it might have, Northern Business Machines?
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
We've been there
But-
since
but-
94.
Oh, okay, so that sign was put up at my request probably
Oh,
about
okay.
15 years ago, and some boulders had been put there, and it looks like somebody's moved the boulders, because now people are getting in there with wheelbarrows or whatever, and dumping on your land in the wetlands.
You can
So it
see-
has
you
to
can- You
be-
can see a trail now that somebody made for themselves, just to dump on your land.
Oh, great.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's a lot of yard landscaping debris.
Yeah.
A lot of branches and stuff. Someone's using it for a dumping ground. Do you think
So
we
we
could?
have, we have cameras. I don't know if they extend over there, but, we weren't aware of that at all.
Well, yeah,
Far
that's-
down, it's almost to Long Street probably, so
okay.
yeah, your camera's probably.
Yeah, they probably won't, yeah.
You think, sort of as part of this project, we could ask that you could get some of that cleaned up for us?
Yeah, of course.
And maybe put the sign back up?
What's that?
Is the sign not there anymore?
Signs on the ground.
Okay.
One of the signs is still there, but
Yeah.
the one that's closer to your building is on the ground like that.
Okay, yeah, and we want that too, so, I don't want anyone dumping anything on there or coming on the
While
property.
you have heavy equipment there, it would be the perfect time, once it's cleaned up, to put some really big stones there, put them back.
Yeah.
So someone can't drive in there and dump.
Okay, yeah,
Somebody
it's
back
a,
the question out of the way, they were.
yeah, we don't want that either, so,
All right, so.
yeah, it'll be a landscaper actually doing the work, so, I can ask that he do that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
BJ.
Okay, so is there someone here? I saw
Yeah.
your hand up.
Yeah.
We have somebody raise their hand. And please come up and state your name so we have it on the record, and where you live, if you live in the area.
Hi, my name is Kathy O'Neill. I live at 31 Arthur Woods Ave, which is one of the closest houses to this area.
Okay.
I was at multiple meetings with NBM 3 years ago. Daytime meetings, evening meetings with the planning board. Not one time in any of those meetings was there a mention of the 3 spaces, the 3 additional spaces. I found out about that 1 week ago when I was speaking to, I think her name was Liz from the planning department. I spoke to Joe and Pemba and Barbara LaRue, both from the planning board. They also had no idea about these 3 additional spaces. And then I found out it was a term called reserve, so that if they felt like they needed it, then they would put it in, not just because they want it. We drive by that property 3 or 4 times a day, me and the whole neighborhood. The lot is never full, never. I don't know why they would need that. It's right before where the woods start. I have pictures. I didn't send them to you because I wanted you to be able to see the dates. I'd be happy to pass my phone around because I have a folder just for Terry Ave. So that now you're going to see it, and they describe it as a small driveway. There's already enough down there between trucks and cars and everything that's associated with an industrial
You
area.
mean on the other side of the building, that big
Yeah.
parking lot? Yeah.
And we supported them when they went for this permit, the special permit, and requested that and the planning board requested that they put in the sidewalk and the lights. To now add an impervious surface to that small strip of grass, I really think is ridiculous. As I said, the parking lot is never full. I have pictures since I've been taking them, and there's 5 other neighbors who've been taking them as well. all times of the day. The lot's never full. Also, right next to that lot is Iron Mountain. They don't have a single car in their parking lot. So if they needed 3 additional spaces, why not just ask Iron Mountain if they can rent 3 spaces from them instead of tearing up this grass that's there? We have deer that go down there every single night. There's groups of deer that go by. The wildlife is down there. We're going to be able to see those spaces from our neighborhood. They're just asking for more when they've already gotten so much. I made some notes. On the renderings that we saw at the planning board meetings 3 years ago, there wasn't one that showed these 3 spaces. They did their addition immediately, within months. It's 3 years later, the sidewalks, the lights, and the trees still have not been done. But they got their addition done, that we supported as good neighbors.
You said what's not been done? Could you repeat?
The sidewalks, the
Sidewalks.
trees, and the lights. It's 3 years later, they are not done, but their addition is totally completed. And again, the most important thing is that it's really feet from those woods, and we will see that from the neighborhood. And we're already dealing, I feel like I'm at a meeting all the time now between NBM and the spaces over there where restaurants are, and now there's a new company that just bought 22 Terry Ave. It's just more and more. This is a neighborhood. My understanding was that's supposed to be a buffer zone. Now you want to add more and diminish that buffer zone even more where the animals are going. There's also a big pipe that Paul Raymond mentioned, and I see it all the time. That water, he said, still has to do with the wells in Burlington. If there was a severe need or a very strong need for those 3 spaces, I wouldn't be here, but there isn't. And to impose that on the neighborhood, I think is really asking an awful lot when we've already agreed and supported them. In addition, let me see, I have the pictures, Iron Mountain, the groups of deers, the pipes, and then again, it being a buffer zone. I really hope that you do not allow this to pass. They don't need it. It's the bottom line. Drive by, they don't need it. And again, if any of you want to see my phone, I have a file on here just for Terry Ave. I'd be happy to let you see it. I've taken pictures from all angles. You will see those spaces. And they're so close to the woods. And the grass is so nice. So why do that? Like, use the spaces you have. Why add more now and infringe on the neighbors again? We already pay a big price. So I hope that you'll consider the position of the neighborhood. This is not necessary, so please don't allow them to move forward with it. We have the water and the wetlands right there. There's no need for it.
Okay.
So I hope please, I hope you'll consider this.
Yes.
I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is anyone on the commission, I have a few thoughts based on what this person said, but is anyone on the commission like to comment before I lead a discussion on this?
Well, I can certainly understand both sides here. I mean, the fact that the sidewalk is going in, and if you're going to have these spaces at any time in the future, now's a good time to do it while the sidewalk is being constructed. And I understand your concerns about it doesn't appear to be needed and it's more impervious area and everything else. I mean, our role here is determine whether it meets the requirements that we enforce. Whether it should be there or not would be a planning board issue.
Well, planning board told, when I was at the meeting last week, they said they sent your board a letter. Did you receive it?
There was a minor engineering change, what's the date on this? This was, the date on this plan that I'm just about to share, if you want, is, I've just already forgotten. Oh my God, where's the, I think it was 2020, 2019? I can't see the date right now, I saw it a minute ago. This was a minor engineering change that did get submitted, and on this plan, you do see the parking spaces in reserve. I can see if I also have a memo there in the file as well. It's just going to these were the parking spaces. They're dotted lines because at that point they were considered to be in reserve by the planning board. Let me see if I have a memo.
So
They said they were sending you a letter this week, from
This
the
week?
meeting last week. They said they were sending you a letter. Their meeting was last Thursday night, and they said they were forwarding a letter to you.
I guess, well, no one on the commission has seen it because our staff hasn't seen it.
Look at viewpoint.
Can I look on viewpoint? I can.
And
Okay,
again, the renderings that they showed, I don't know anything about dotted lines. I'm not an engineer or an architect or anything else, but I can tell you that on the pictures, there was never a space showed. Never, because we would have fought that as best we could. And there's no need for it. I mean, really, and what have they been doing all along? Now, all of a sudden, they want to infringe more on the neighborhood. It doesn't make sense to me.
May I respond to because there's a couple of things I think that are some misinformation that I just want to correct. So the reason we haven't done the sidewalk and the lights and the trees yet is because we needed approval from the town to do so, and we just received that at the end of February.
They said at the last meeting they didn't have to do anything.
Oh.
There were no conditions from the town.
Oh,
That's
there
what
was,
planning
that was
board
part
said.
of the decision, is that we needed approvals stating that we didn't need to file before the Conservation Commission, we didn't need to do anything further on the planning board. And Kristen Kastner, the planning board director, sent us notice at the end of February that we could move forward with the sidewalk. Because even though we got our certificate of compliance, we paid the town a bond for that sidewalk and that construction.
And that's being held until the sidewalk is done.
Correct, yep.
So sidewalks are being done.
Right.
What about the trees? What's the status of that?
The same, I mean, everything was part of that, the trees, the sidewalk, the light was part of
You
that
made a
same.
proposal, or
Yep.
was there a proposal for trees?
Yeah.
And
It's
when is that going in?
ASAP, that's what we're trying to do it now,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And so,
How about lights?
same, a light at the corner of Long Street and Terry Ave, as depicted on the site plan. So we are ready to move forward, and the reason we need this isn't, I mean, some of it's parking, when we have our whole company there, we need the parking, but as I said, when we have the service store is on the side there, and we have technicians that pull up and have to carry out parts that weigh 80 pounds, 90 pounds, 100 pounds to that side door. With the sidewalk now, I mean, I don't think anyone here wants us blocking the sidewalk to pull up to access that service door. So this is really the same project, and it's the neighbors who wanted the sidewalk. So, you know, we're trying to be a good neighbor and do the sidewalk, but we have to also keep in mind what we need to do for our business as well. And so, that's why, you know.
And I'd just like to comment to that because they've been there for 30 years and they haven't had a problem with accessing and getting this 80-pound machine or whatever it is out.
Right, but we didn't have a sidewalk there, so it's because of the sidewalk that we need to provide access to the technicians to go to the door
Well, it's
now.
grass right now, so how do they get there?
They pull up on the grass.
I've never seen it.
Well, I know, but you're not looking at the building.
I live 100 feet from
We
it.
do it
and I
all
can
the time,
fly-
we do it all the time. We've
Never
been
seen
there
it
since
once.
1994,
Not
and that's
one
our
time.
service door right there.
Not one time.
All right, and what was your name again?
Kathy O'Neill.
Kathy O'Neill, Miss O'Neill, okay.
Are the trees that have yet to be planted, are they going to be in the area of this new parking spaces? Are they going to be something to help impact, reduce the impact visually of them?
They're gonna be along Long Street, so they'll be, along the street.
All right.
Can I just ask, because I don't fully understand, so do they need to get permission from you to
Yeah,
put in these spaces?
I'm gonna address that
Thank
for a second, okay? And you can sit there and listen, or you go over there and listen, doesn't matter what you do. We on the commission deal with two sets of laws. One is our local bylaw, our local wetlands bylaw, and the other is the State Wetlands Protection Act. So a lot of it is similar, and there's even more requirements in our bylaw through regulations that is not in the actual state stuff. And when someone files within so much distance, we review the project to make sure that there's no impact. So, Ms. O'Neill, we don't have the discretion to do the way you have expressed it. We don't have that discretion to do that. In other words, if they meet the performance standards and will not have any impact on the wetlands, okay? Whether or not the project is justified in your view because of need, and whether or not you feel it's an appropriate place for a project like this because of all the nice grass area. I mean, everybody that would look at that would say it's a shame to lose the green space there.
Right.
I mean, everyone would agree with you. No one is saying that you're not correct. So we can't make it on that basis because, one, based on need, and two, based on the fact that we they meet the performance standard, because all they would have to do, if we just arbitrarily denied it, which
Right.
we don't normally do.
Sure, I
But if we
understand.
did, they would file for a superseding order of conditions with the state for whatever the fee is, $25, and that would delay them, which I don't think is the point. The point is
Right,
not to
no.
simply delay them, and we would be overturned. We would be overruled, is what would happen. Okay? So we can't arbitrarily do what you're asking. I mean, and I know that's not what you want to hear. Now, having said that, Ms. Gary, what you've heard is that people in the neighborhood don't like to lose the green space. You've heard that. And Ms. O'Neill made the suggestion that maybe you could take a long-term lease or rent some spaces from a nearby place that seemed to do the trick, that may do the trick for you. So, I mean, all I can ask is, we don't have any right to say you can't do the project. I mean, we just can't do that. I mean, even if it was a baseless justification for need, has nothing to do with us, unfortunately. But you could consider what this person has said and whether there is an alternative that might be attractive enough to you to possibly do that. I have no idea if that's, from a business point of view, if that's attractive. All I can tell you is that, just looking at it, that if I had my druthers, it would be nice not to put 3 parking spaces and asphalt right in front of your property, because it looks so nice there. I mean, that's all I'm saying. So,
Yeah, it's the sidewalk that's precipitating all of this, to be completely honest, so we're doing the sidewalk, we're doing the trees, we're doing the lights for the neighbors. And that's the only reason. And so,
the question is there I think Ms. O'Neill raises a good point that you can just think about, whether, is there an alternative that, as part of being a good neighbor, that would equally satisfy the need? So, I'm not asking you to answer.
Yeah.
I'm just asking you to think about it, and I guess that's all I can say about it. I'm sorry.
okay.
Well, I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay, so, I mean, I wish we could just wave a wand and say, well, we don't like the project either, we agree with you, Ms. Neal, and so,
I understand. I thought that they were too close to the wetlands, and it's a sin, because there is a lot of wildlife down there, probably one of the fewer, especially in our
I
area.
mean, it's already, it's not, the actual grass is not the most thing conducive to wildlife. On the other hand, it is green space, so.
It is green space, yeah.
It's kind of odd to put a parking lot sort of off on that side of it, but.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the application says.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else who wants to make a comment at all?
There's somebody online with a hand up.
Yes.
I would like to make a comment.
Yes, state your name, please, and where you live.
Yeah, I live right next to NBA, and we have a long history of being very upset about wetlands. I don't, this is my first time here. My name is Galina. We live on One Street for probably about 17 years. I haven't heard that, something will be done for neighbors about sidewalk or whatever. It's all very nice. But I want to bring attention back to what Eileen said about wooden area where, yes, a lot of wildlife we see. The problem is that there is a lot of dumping going on there. Some years ago, I filed complaint with health department in Burlington, and Bapa Corporation was fined for that. And the result was just couple of signs, no dumpings, that were in October, almost immediately. I don't know many neighbors, but I know that whoever dumps it are our neighbors, but we cannot do anything about it. We don't want any conflicts, We are good neighbors, by the way, and we pay a lot of money for our landscaping, which is right next to the dump. And I'm not that concerned about those 3 parking spaces. This is their land, and whatever they want to do it, and I appreciate complaints about parking spots and or whatever. But I do want something good to come out of this. I want something to be done about that dump. I don't want to see it. We also walk there. And we have pretty expensive house that I don't want to be next to the dump.
Yeah,
So,
if you're talking about those wetlands that we talked about
yeah,
earlier.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
They have agreed, Ms. Gary has agreed that they're gonna help us get a cleanup done and put up maybe some rocks or something to block future access and put up the no dumping sign, so it's a little bit better for the wetlands and the habitat there.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we don't want the dumping either.
Really appreciate that.
Sure. All right, I appreciate your comments. Thank you for tuning in. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sure. Is there anyone else for 24 Terry Ave that would like to make a comment on this application? Yes, come on up. And-
Debbie Harrington, 2 Dale Street, Berlin.
Well, wait till you get to the microphone.
What are you trying to find?
This project, this
Hi,
special permit.
Debbie Harrington, 2 Dale Street.
All right, nice to see you.
So I'm literally very close to them. I keep hearing that it's for the neighbors, but it's actually been required under the overlay project for the center. So it's not that it's being magnanimous in doing it, it's part of the overlay project, is why they have to do the sidewalks
Right,
and the trees.
right.
So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, so that's through the planning board and
That's exactly
they're
right.
enforcing the overlay requirements.
That is right.
Oh, that's interesting, okay.
Okay,
Very good.
it's the only comment I had.
Okay, that's fine, thank you for telling us.
Thank you. There's no sidewalk requirement in the overlay requirements. That's something that they asked us to do, so we did it. But the lights and yes, that was part of like their design. But when we had the project, when we were going through it, I think some of these neighbors who are here today expressed concern about the project and that they wanted a sidewalk, and so we, as a compromise, did a sidewalk, so
Right,
that's.
right. No, we understand, I mean,
Yeah.
everyone can understand the need for sidewalks
Yeah.
leading into residential areas, and everyone can understand the need for more vegetation and, good lighting. But as far as the parking lot, regardless of what we think about your project, that's not the most relevant thing. It's what's important is you've heard what they've said, what Ms. O'Neill said, and maybe you can just give it a little bit more thought and let us know if there's any changes.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, so it looks like, was there anything we're asking, more information needed? Because we don't want to get to the next meeting and then we're ready to close or do whatever.
Yep.
If,
I don't think so. I mean, it's a fairly simple design. It seems okay.
okay, so there's nothing that we need them to supply at this point?
No.
If,
There's no DEP file number yet, so we'll have to keep an eye on that.
okay, if Ms. Gary decided, hey, I've come up with a different arrangement and it's equally satisfactory, if you did, I'm not saying you should, but if you did, does that change the filing? Can it move ahead without the parking lot being done?
Can
See.
move ahead.
It's the only thing we're asking
It's
to
the only
do.
thing on this application. Oh, so the sidewalk's not on the application?
No, the sidewalk is outside the buffer zone. Right.
So what would happen in that case is they would withdraw the application if they didn't do it?
Right.
Or sometimes we get an application that we approve a project and sometimes it's not done at the end of 3 years because you found an alternate thing to do. That has happened where then we could just close the file out, so we could actually issue the project.
I think they're planning to do it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the landscaper's waiting to do the sidewalk and this at the same time.
Okay. All right, well,
Yeah, I mean, I understand, neighbors voicing their concern about things that are happening near them, but we're doing this because of the sidewalk, because we're doing the sidewalk, because we need to access that door because of the sidewalk. And so I don't really see there being an alternative that I would entertain at this time.
how is the sidewalk tied to the 3 spaces?
Because we pull up, we pull up right now, right there on the grass, right where the sidewalk is
There's
marked
the
off.
sidewalk, and then basically right next to it.
I mean, unless-
I know it's not clear, but it's right next to it.
So you won't be able to,
We'll be blocking it. I mean, it's just, it's not
blocking what?
the sidewalk, blocking the area if neighbors want to walk down there.
So you can't just park on the street?
No, the sidewalk's gonna be, no, I mean, I'm gonna block the street if we do that.
I guess, I don't,
Yeah.
I can't really remember how wide it is there, but that's not the point. Okay. All right, so could I have a motion to continue the meeting for, the hearing for 24 Terry Ave until May 26, 2022?
So moved.
Second?
Second,
Okay, Ed, how do you vote on continuance?
yes.
Don?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, so 24 Terry Ave is continued to the May 26th meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we're at a continued public hearing for the proposed revisions to Stormwater Management Bylaw, General Bylaw, Article 14, Section 6. Eileen, do you want to sort of do an introduction of where we are?
We met the last time and we talked a little bit about some things that were still kind of up in the air. We were talking about the difference between the thresholds, because just to recap, we would like to reduce the thresholds for both an abbreviated permit and a standard permit. So we were just talking about what those would look like. And there was also some discussion about trees. John and I feel that while, I'm open to the idea of, keeping the trees in the rear setback, which is something that we mentioned. You had proposed something earlier today about something quite extensive about trees, but that came
Yeah,
from a tree bylaw and that issued tree permits.
Right.
And that isn't what this is. This is a stormwater
No,
permit.
I understand that, and,
So I'm concerned about getting too
right.
messy with that.
I'm not pursuing it to the point that all that, a tree permitting system would be.
I'd love it if we had a tree bylaw.
Right.
That would be great. We're not opposed to the saving of the trees.
So Eileen actually sent out a query to this stormwater
Oh, yes, I did. I
listserv
forgot
we
that.
have, which is all, statewide, to find out if anybody regulated trees under their stormwater bylaw, and to
And
date, nobody
Nobody
has said they do.
does.
Right.
There's
The,
plenty of towns that have regulations regarding trees, but they don't put it in their stormwater bylaw.
Right, I understand. I expected that would be the answer. I didn't know you were gonna do that and seek
Oh,
inputs,
the
but I would expect that.
The
would be
stormwater
answer.
coordinator for the EPA actually sent me tree bylaws.
Right,
He knows that it doesn't tend to happen.
right. Okay, so you wanna go over where we are? We have proposed changes, and then we have alternative proposed changes.
Sorry, I'm on the wrong thing. Yeah, let me just open up the correct, where am I gone? Here.
And while she's opening it up, the bylaw review committee has actually requested Eileen to appear next week, so if we have a draft ready, approved tonight, she can start the procedure for getting ready for town meeting.
Right,
Well, let me open up the little table. Well, I don't know, I'm opening up both the table and the Word version that I think I sent that out to you guys
Wanna look at
today,
this at the same
a
time?
version.
Yeah, that'd be great.
this would be,
And if I didn't have it ready.
What would you like me to share?
all right. You want me?
How about I share this, and we talk,
Yeah, that's-
maybe we can finalize the,
Get that now, yeah.
at least the thresholds portion?
Right, right. Yeah, you want me to do the summary, or you wanna do it? I don't care.
Well, at the moment, the thresholds are 10,000 square feet for an abbreviated permit and 20,000 square feet for a standard permit with a hearing, like we had tonight with Tim Quinn's project. We had been talking about changing the threshold for a standard permit down to 15,000 square feet and for an abbreviated permit down to 5,000 square feet with other thresholds to do with impervious. And then what our latest alternative that John and I had proposed were leaving the standard permit at 20,000 square feet, or if the applicant proposes to increase impervious surface on the lot so that it totals 10% or more of the lot, and then for an abbreviated permit to drop the threshold all the way down to 5,000, or if the applicant's proposing increasing impervious by 5% of the lot.
So totaling means the total of the increased, not the total of
Right, that's
impervious
it.
on the lot.
Did I,
Exactly.
is that written poorly?
That's the increase of 10%, not for a total of 10%.
See, it's not, it could be read either way, the way it's on that chart. Is that, you know, if they increase it, so now all impervious totals 10%, or it's just the increases adding 10%?
We had said results in an increase of impervious area of 10% of the total area of the property.
Increase of 10%.
All right, can we talk about these triggering thresholds and see if we can just get agreement here for a minute before we go on? Okay, so we have two permits. We have a standard permit, we're a hearing, and, you know, all the things that go along with a hearing that we would have. And we have an abbreviated permit, which, right now, we have we have what was previously proposed, that a standard permit would be 15,000 square feet or better. We know that most, and many house lots are a half acre, so we're looking at 20,000 plus for a house lot. I'd like to ask the commission if we go with the alternative proposal, which happens to be what I would pick, what that essentially means is that most homes would go under that standard, would go for an abbreviated permit. Does anyone have a?
Most homes doing what?
Would have to get an abbreviated permit with all the other things that are listed underneath.
For a tear down and rebuild, he means.
For a tear down?
Yep.
All right?
Yes.
Okay, so, I mean, the point is, they would, if you look at the rest of the table, is a butter notification? Yes. Is, if it's greater than 10,000 square feet, then it would require an engineered plan, okay? If it requires an engineered plan, it would require an as-built plan. But it would not require an O&M plan for a homeowner. And it would, the abbreviated permit would apply most often to a single-family home. Okay,
Most often, and there will be instances when it would still trigger a permit with a hearing. For example, we had something that came across our desks, where was it? During the week, where somebody is proposing a tear down and a rebuild, and it's gonna total about 6,000 square feet. So that's gonna trigger the 10% right there.
Well, I haven't got there yet, okay? So that's what happens essentially if we use the minimum land disturbance. Now, the next criteria, the second criteria that could trigger either a standard permit or an abbreviated permit is a standard permit would be an increase of 10% of the lot size, okay, for impervious surface being added. So if you have a 20,000 square foot lot, that means that someone would be adding a rather large addition, or would be adding 2,000 square feet of additional impervious or greater, is what that means, for a full permit, and they would come for a hearing. That would be an extremely large homeowner project.
Yes.
Take what you had for impervious surface and add another 2,000 square feet of additional impervious surface. So if you have 2,000, you're talking about 4,000 square feet or greater if they started with 2,000.
They are happening. We're getting a few of those.
Oh,
and
there would be,
I'd be happy for you guys to definitely be on a hearing for those.
right, so there would be some.
Crazy big ones.
Now, the abbreviated permit says that a second triggering threshold would be 5% or more of the lot size of additional impervious surface. So on a 20,000 square foot lot, what that means is 1,000 square feet additional impervious surface in addition to whatever home they had. It would normally be an existing home, a couple of thousand square feet or more, okay? So 1,000 or more addition, 50%, you know what you're talking about is a home, 50% or greater addition is what it really means, okay? And so that would be an abbreviated permit.
And we do see those. We see houses where the addition is.
Yeah, we do see
doubling
that,
the size
and
of
we
the
would
house.
see, we would see a lot of that, probably.
Okay.
an abbreviated permit. But it would not require a permit, not require a hearing. A butter notification for the abbreviated permit would still be required under that. An engineered plan, Eileen has put in some discretion here that if it's 10,000 square feet of disturbance or 5% of the lot, if it meets over those thresholds, then it would require an engineered plan for the abbreviated permits. The smallest projects would not. If you have a small project, which is for 5 to 10,000 square feet of land disturbance, or less than 5% of total impervious surface, something that was less than 1,000 square feet of additional impervious surface, then you wouldn't need an engineered plan. I think that's a very fair compromise, is what it sounds to me like. And then if it does pass the threshold for an engineered plan, then you would need an as-built plan to make sure there were no deviations. I would like to submit to the commission that the alternative proposal for a full permit and the alternative proposal for an abbreviated permit is the preferred way to go. I like the idea. I'd like to submit to the commission that 10% of the lot size for additional impervious for a full permit and 5% of the lot size accounts for, aren't there lots that are like 10,000 square feet?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it accounts for how, and that means things would be that much closer to the lot lines being a smaller lot. I really like the way you've done this,
Yep,
Eileen.
yep.
That was actually John's idea.
Okay, John, I
Yes,
really like the
credit
way
for
you've
that.
done this.
I do too. I think it's a good idea.
Regardless, I like it. Okay, so, I guess I've made my preferences, but I'd like to hear from the commission. Ed, how does all that sound? Do you think the alternative proposal of essentially not calling homeowners in for formal hearings and having to go through that process is okay? I'm not sure there's a lot to be gained by doing that for homeowner-type projects.
Well, I think you gotta take some of the pressure off homeowners, and I think that's what this is really saying, and I think that's a good idea.
Right, okay. How about Dawn? What do you think, based on what you've heard?
I think the alternative proposal was a good fit or at least a good starting point to
Go. Don't take that away.
Okay. Kent, given what you've heard, how does all this sound to you?
Yeah, I think it sounds like a good proposal. and
Okay, so the
John's
alternative
idea.
proposals,
Yep.
where there's the land disturbance and only land disturbances of greater than 20,000 would require a full permit, or greater than 10% of the lot adding impervious surface, additional impervious surface would require a full permit, okay. Bill, could you comment, please?
Yep, I like it also. I just, can you put that back up for a
Oh,
sec?
yes.
Can look at
The
that.
concerns that I
I should
have,
have just put it up there to see if we had any members of the public at the
Anybody who's,
hearing.
yes, and I couldn't see it.
my concern is if this, are we gonna put this in a chart format in the document?
No,
It has to be worded correctly. You know, it's not clear when you say totaling 5% lot size, it's
This
still
was
not
just,
clear.
I threw it together so that we
Yep.
had a visual, we could just make comparisons easily. I wasn't.
Okay, so you
going-
don't, if you are gonna put, you know, an abbreviated version of this chart with the, you know, all- as shown here, minus the proposed, you just have the current and the alternative, you need to rechange the wording on that.
Yeah, no, I don't think this
It's not
goes
totaling
into
10%.
it.
And you need to put in a row that says hearing, yes or no.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
as I said, this was just for our use.
Right, but it might be helpful to have in the document.
Actually, we added something to the definite, is this an okay time to just say that we added something to the definite? John again caught something that needed clarification.
What
course
did
he
what
did.
did he catch?
I'll show you right now. What did he catch? He caught, it was about, I had worded it a bit too broadly about the commercial ones, because I would definitely still like your input on all commercial, but the way we had said it was just all commercial properties, but what we need to say is, oh no, is this not the version that I fixed? Oh darn, this isn't the version that I fixed.
I have a copy in front of me. Would you like to refer to a page?
We had, I know, I think I fixed it after. We talked about it after I sent it out. I'm sorry, I had added some more words there to say, results in an increase in 10% of the total area of the property and or disturbs more than 20,000 square feet, and for all commercial projects that basically hit the thresholds of an abbreviated permit. It's not every single project in town, because obviously they don't all hit us. It's just any commercial project that hits the thresholds that I would normally deal with myself. I would prefer that you get involved with that one. Are you on board with that?
So there may be some commercial projects that don't require a stormwater permit. They're under the threshold even for their administrative permit. So that's not gonna go to you.
Or they're just, it's commercial, nothing to do with
So what are you really saying in regards to commercial
So a
projects?
commercial project that meets the threshold for an abbreviated permit actually goes for a full permit. You will see all commercial projects that
That hit
require a
annual
stormwater
stormwater.
permit at all. I mean, some commercial projects may not even require a stormwater permit if they're, adding a little bit to their driveway that's 100 square feet. That won't require a stormwater permit, period.
Well, who decides that?
well,
No,
our thresholds.
If the threshold, if they meet the bottom threshold for an abbreviated permit, since they're commercial, they have to file the full permit.
And what's the rationale behind that if it's a small project? Let's say it's
Because they tend to be-
something like 6,000 square feet of land disturbance and something like 6% of the total impervious
Right.
being added.
Because it's parking lots with trickier drainage.
Yeah, it's
Mostly.
commercial projects. We just thought you would rather see commercial projects than
Right.
have us just do them administratively. They're not residences, right?
They're usually a bit more
And how does that
complicated.
compare to
They've
what
got higher
happened?
traffic, they've, better.
But if it was something like the three little spaces, parking spaces tonight,
If that's over 5,000 square feet, then you would get it.
but if it wasn't, then we wouldn't have all commercial projects. You corrected that to say
Right.
above this minimum
Yes,
threshold.
exactly.
Okay.
It's the semantics really,
Right.
but it needs to be in the definition.
Or something like
I
that.
actually found it there.
You could do administratively if that was the only issue, that there's 3 parking spaces and less than 5,000 square feet or whatever.
We could possibly also like run some of the smaller ones by you just to see if you want a hearing. I don't know how to capture that.
No.
Just go with one or the other, one or the
Yeah,
other.
no, you've gotta be black and white, can't be.
Yeah, you're right. I put the wording up there, and for all commercial projects to disturb 5,000
So
square
you-
feet or greater.
So if projects between 5,000 and 10,000 square feet would still come to us
If it's commercial.
if it's commercial.
Does that sound okay?
I think it makes sense, like you said.
I mean, I'm
higher
I'm not
traffic.
sure. I have to rely on what you tell me that you think it's worthwhile doing.
I think I would prefer it because I've had to do 1 or 2, and I would really prefer to have more brains on that one.
So here's the oil change place across from the high school.
Yes.
That was an administrative permit because it was under 20,000 square feet. Wouldn't you have liked to have seen that?
Right.
But you didn't, and,
Because of the nature of the use, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
Plus
nature
a
of the use.
larger commercial site might do multiple small ones over a period of time, whereas a residential wouldn't.
That's
So
possible
you
too.
still want to see them piecemeal,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
that makes sense.
Okay. I guess it makes sense now that you've explained it.
Good example.
Ed? Yes?
That was a good example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay, so,
you were generally in favor of going with the 20,000 and the percentage impervious.
right, the percent makes a
The
lot of
alternative-
sense.
The alternative proposal, yes.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense. Is there anything more you need from us? When is that meeting?
It's next Tuesday.
What time? Where? When and where?
Well, the last times I was at it, it was online.
Yeah, probably
I think
will
it's
be
just
again.
online.
It's probably on
Could
with
you,
us.
could you send it out to the commission in case anybody wants to attend?
Yeah, it's a public meeting, right, so I can do that? I was
What's
just
that?
wondering, because I've been invited, but not you.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a public meeting, so I can do that, yes. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to go through with this, though, that we,
I didn't have anything else, but I did want to talk about trees.
trees?
I like trees.
I like trees too, but I'm not ready to get heavily involved into a tree ordinance.
Right.
Enough on my plate.
Well, I wanted to, I understand, but I want to whet your appetite for just a minute. Okay?
Sure.
All right. I've come across a tree preservation ordinance bylaw for the city of Newton, Massachusetts. They have a tree program for municipal trees, which would be nice. And they have a tree for ordinance for private property. All right, you may be familiar with what they're doing, okay?
Yeah.
And what they are doing is they are requiring, when you want to remove a tree, they want to say you have to get generally speaking, you have to get a tree removal permit, and the tree warden is the one who grants it.
A tree above a certain minimum size.
Yeah, they have a tree above a certain minimum size. However, the interesting thing is that basically, the lot owner at the time of the protected tree removal, okay, must have lived there at least a minimum of 90 days prior to the removal of the tree. And otherwise, and so, for an exemption, in other words, I'm sorry, I misstated. There's some rules for homeowners that are exempted. The vast majority of homeowners are exempted. In other words, if you've lived there for 90 days or more, basically, you can do whatever you want with your trees, is what they're saying. However, if you are someone who belongs to a developer or a flipper, okay, and you haven't lived there as the homeowner, okay, then you have to apply for a tree permit. And the rationale is, I'm gonna get more information on this, but the rationale is that the worst thing that happens with trees and lots is when a developer comes in and completely clears the lot. And so this ordinance is set up to address the most egregious problems with tree removal. It's not someone that comes in and removes a tree on the sideline or something like that because they're building their house out, okay? It has to do with somebody comes in, they're gonna raise the house, completely clear the lot, which we've all seen. And then we have no trees on the property, we have drainage problems and puddling problems and so forth, because all the trees were removed, and sometimes it's a substantial number of trees. And then the developer has two choices. They can either replace the tree somewhere else, and they can be granted the tree removal.
Somewhere else on the site?
Somewhere on the site, or they pay into the equivalent for what it would cost to replace a tree into their tree fund.
And the replacement size has to equal.
Right.
If it's.
Yeah,
the total replacement has to equal the one that was taken out.
Yeah, the value of what was taken out, I think.
If it's 12-inch
Okay.
tree, you can put in
These are all details which I have to look at more clearly. But the whole point of this is, if we were to propose a tree bylaw on private property, we would probably we would expect a lot of pushback from telling people they can't do what they want with their property. That they can't either remove their trees or replant their trees, or they have to get tree permits. But this basically says that if you are a private homeowner and you've lived there for a while, 90 days or more, and you want to remove a tree, you are exempt. You can do what you want in your own property.
Some communities have another caveat, though, for what they call heritage trees, trees that are above 24 inches or whatever the
Right.
definition is, that
Right.
have probably been there longer than the house has. Those require special, even on private property.
So when I was looking at this, I was saying, well, maybe we can do this for a bylaw, for the erosion bylaw. But then I was looking at all the stuff that's in here, the definitions and the permit and the penalties and the enforcement. It obviously has to be something separate. We couldn't write that into a stormwater bylaw. I mean, so I totally agree with what you found out by asking people. I'm in complete agreement. But I'm wondering, as a place to start, that assuming we get past the Community Preservation Act stuff, and we get past this bylaw getting passed, that it might be something that would be good for the town that maybe some people wouldn't object to.
Oh, absolutely.
That, you know, private homeowners don't want to be told what to do if they want to, they're afraid the tree's gonna fall down on their property. You're gonna get a lot of pushback. We've seen it where people have a pine tree growing right beside their tree, it's a big tall pine tree, and they think it's coming right through the roof. Okay, and regardless of whether we think that's likely the case or not, they want to maintain the right to take down that tree.
But they would also have the right to clear cut their lot if they lived there for a certain amount of time. They'd cause flooding
Yeah,
problems for their
they would have that right, but I don't think as often we see people who are homeowners who just want to clear cut the lot. Now, on Bedford Street, we had that one case, that did happen with many trees being taken down. We
I've
don't,
seen two on my street alone, that both adjacent clear cut their lots, put in massive lawns, and now have terrific water problems. The guy's putting in sump pumps in the middle of his lawn.
well, what I'm,
There are a number of towns that have them, so we can make a comparison and pick and choose some nice parts from
I think that's what we need
each.
to do, yeah. Mind the system and see
all I'm
what's in
saying,
there.
this doesn't mean there's not other aspects of what we could
Right,
put in.
right.
I'm just saying, as a general strategy, Newton put in this strategy, and it appears to, they obviously got it in, so they probably didn't get substantial pushback from private homeowners on something like this.
Right.
I'm a little confused as to why did this only relate to a homeowner?
What about the town itself?
There is another program, I didn't look into it, they have a municipal tree program, and I didn't look into the details of what they're doing. That's not to say we shouldn't have something like that. We have our tree warden, I think, is John Sanchez for the Department of
Yep.
Public Works.
Yep.
And I'm not sure how often he has time to do too much about municipal trees right now.
Right. I mean, one of the good examples is between Third Ave and Fourth Ave when they wiped out all those pine trees there.
Yep.
Those big
Right.
spruce.
Right.
The other thing is
that
from a
wasn't
Newton
town, that
point
was-
of view.
That was still private property, yeah.
Oh, was that private?
Oh, yeah.
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 Okay, I didn't know that.
I mean,
Our gripe with the town was that they didn't require a permit to do that.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, I made them do a stormwater permit with me anyway.
Okay, good.
What would have happened, we're talking about Newton, what would have happened putting in the new high school? They wiped out every tree that was on that property. How does
In
Newton
Newton?
feel about that?
I do not know, okay? But
I don't know. Into it though.
basically, if someone is covered by this permit, they have to either relocate or replace the tree on site, or pay into their tree fund, and I'm not sure what they do with the tree fund. I have a question into them, they're gonna tell me.
They may
And-
use it to take care of.
Well, they do
town
street trees. I mean, unlike Burlington, they have a street tree program.
Street
I know
tree,
the
yeah.
town of Brookline has a computer database, and they know every single street tree, you know, the age of it, the health of it, it's all in a database. So Newton could have the same thing as Brookline.
Yeah, I think what some cities have done is they have done studies over a period of time to show the loss of tree canopy
Mhm.
in the town, to justify the need for it. And that, you know, that was sort of the prelude to actually convincing either the city council or the board of the select board or whatever it is to vote into some kind of program for tree preservation, a tree removal system.
They point out the benefits, of course, of trees, and it's all the stuff we've talked about, but there's one that I hadn't really heard mentioned by us before was noise attenuation, as well as another, trees between you and your neighbors, or trees between you and the highway, or whatever. It's a noise buffer as well.
So anyways, I guess what I'm suggesting, because I'm particularly interested in this, at some point in the future, I'd like to come up with sort of the parameters for what a potential tree bylaw might consist of, a strategy, and then circulate it around and see if we get some input from people. See if, what they like and what they don't like. Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
Before we leave the stormwater bylaw, can we just look at, there's one or two places where we talked about trees, and I'm wondering, do we leave it in or do we take them out fully now?
Okay.
And here, where we talked about the stormwater management plan, we said tree removals should be limited to the maximum extent.
Where are you reading?
Oh,
Page.
6.6.2, page 8.
Page 9, is it?
Okay, hang on. 6.6.2. Okay,
What is it say?
all right, go ahead.
There's some that I had highlighted. We had said it should be limited to the maximum extent feasible and practicable. Practicable. We had some discussion about which word was correct. No trees shall be removed within the rear zoning setback without a waiver from the commission. That was something we had talked about with Susan, and do we still want that, or do you? I'm okay with that one.
Yeah, I'm okay,
Let's keep it.
okay with that. We're not saying that if someone has to remove a tree in order to do their project, we're not saying that we're gonna stand in the way of that.
No,
Oh, and there's a condition for, I mean, there's possibility of a waiver. I think the word should be practicable and not feasible, because feasible is very restrictive.
I've changed it right now. I've taken out feasible. But I think. I
Should
think
it be
for-
rear and side? Don't you consider side the same issue?
No,
Now, the issue that Ms. Cadillac brought up was in construction, you look at these big houses, and when they're constructed, they wipe out the whole sides just getting in with their vehicles.
That's true.
Great, so to try to protect the sides and the back would be too much.
Plus, at the moment,
okay.
I'd like this to change in the zoning bylaw, but you are allowed to have a driveway within the setback, the side setback.
Yes, right on your property line.
So the trees would go out for that anyway.
Right, but this says no trees shall be removed within the zoning setbacks. That means side and back.
Oh, we had talked about that. In your version, I guess I hadn't changed it. We just said, I'm just saying rear.
Rear setback.
Rear.
Okay.
Just the rear setback.
And if you go down to 6.6.3.1, about another,
That will probably be more acceptable.
yeah, I think that would at least
Right.
be more doable, yes. If you go on to just 6.3.1, I just want to finish this up and trash this. We had talked about
Go to what number?
6.6.3.1, it's on,
6.6.
it's just the next page.
3.1, okay, yeah.
It's a yellow highlighted bit. We had asked for all trees 8 inches or greater in diameter to be shown on the plan. Do you still want that?
Yes, because we always ask for that. We're always asking for that, to show the trees on the plan.
Is the 8 inches specific?
Okay, no, that's fine, that's fine.
I mean, are
just-
you
I just-
thinking, you hesitated, why are you hesitating, Eileen?
Just because on the smaller, I'm trying to remember whether this says, this is for both types of plan. I mean, obviously, if it's a standard permit, then yes, but let me scroll up to where we are. This is under standard, so that's fine.
It's not much of a burden to just have them show the trees on the plan. And these, we're only asking for the mature trees, 8 inches and up.
So this doesn't apply, if a plan is required on the abbreviated permit, that doesn't apply?
I'm just scrolling down to see if we did say that. If you look on 6.7.1 bill, we do have proof of notification of immediate abutters to the project for an abbreviated permit.
Okay.
That was one of your concerns.
Yep.
Let me just see the plan.
And let me ask you, I mean, obviously, we
I'm
have.
good with this now, okay.
We have consistently taken the lead on issuing these erosion permits and stormwater permits. And the planning board has not, have they?
Correct, I think we all agreed to take them out.
That's already agreed upon.
Is that agreed upon?
Yeah.
They're okay with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here.
I'm sure they're not looking for extra things to do.
They rolled over on that one pretty easy.
They did, actually.
Okay, so, I mean,
Okay.
are you asking the commission to do a critical review of this for last minute changes or anything?
That would be great, and if there's anything shocking, then I don't have to go to the meeting on Tuesday, but if it looks like it's pretty okay, then we can at least start the process with them Does that sound okay?
Right.
If, over the weekend, if
And you're
anybody
gonna get us-
anybody has time,
You're gonna get us, the link and all that stuff.
the link to the meeting.
case
Will
we
do.
can make it.
Yep.
Say no, this version with the changes
With
you
all
made
the last
tonight.
changes, yeah. I'll, tomorrow, when I get the link to the meeting, I'll send that and this exact version that we just made the last tweaks to.
Yeah.
To you as well.
Okay,
So we're all working from the same,
right.
um,
Okay, so
document.
we'll continue it to the next meeting. Is there anyone in the audience for the public hearing? for the-
Are we largely in agreement, though, that this is gonna be, this is fairly much acceptable for me to go to the zoning review
Yeah,
committee
I
with?
think so.
Okay.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Could I have and so are we gonna close the hearing then,
No,
on May 20th? Keep it open?
yeah. Keep it open right up till town meeting, I would say.
Okay.
I
All
mean,
right.
if
do
you,
have to
if you want to tweak it at all, you don't want to have to reopen the hearing, just
Right.
to
Yeah.
make a couple changes or something,
We just have to be aware when we need to submit it for the next town meeting.
Right,
The
yes,
zoning bylaw change, so
But,
Well,
you
but
which
even
is-
when it's submitted, you could have the
Oh, yeah.
hearing, you don't have to close the hearing
can just
necessarily.
put in a placeholder, but we've got to
Yeah.
do that in advance. We gotta remember
Yeah,
when
until it
that
goes
is.
to print.
right. But it would be good to get the process going with the bylaw review
Yeah,
committee.
Okay.
because that
All
can
right.
be slow.
Yeah,
Could I have a motion to continue the public hearing on the stormwater, the changes, proposed revisions to the stormwater management bylaw, to continue the meeting until May 26th?
So moved.
Second? Okay, Ed, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes by a vote of 5-0. The hearing on the stormwater bylaw revisions is continued to May 26, 2022.
And just as a housekeeping note, I know Bill's not at the next meeting, we have a really full agenda, so it's possible you might not even want to discuss it, it'll be on the agenda, but there may not be much to discuss other than an update about the bylaw review.
yeah.
Okay.
Is there a latest time when, Eileen, you need these feedbacks?
The meeting is on Tuesday, so if there's any way you can get me something by Monday, that would be great, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Planning board comments, do we need anything further?
I don't think so.
All right, subcommittee staff reports?
Nope.
Other business? I have one other business. I wanted to ask Bill if he's enjoying the lengthy town meeting.
I still like town meetings, but they were not, I don't know,
Okay.
not abbreviated. We need the abbreviated version and the full version, you know?
All right.
I think doing away with hybrid would make it a little faster, you know?
It would, yeah.
Okay, the next meeting of the commission will be May 26th. The next meeting after that is June 9th. All right?
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All right, Ed, how do you vote on adjournment?
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
And Bill?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. This meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission is now adjourned.